The Latari Medal was first awarded in 1883, and it reflected Notre Dame's desire to be a national university. It very self-consciously presented it as an award for American Catholics. But it also reflected Notre Dame's connection to the Universal Church, and particularly to Rome. It was modeled on an honor called the Papal Rose, which had traditionally been awarded on Latari Sunday. Notre Dame history professor Jimmy Edwards brainstormed with Father Sorin and Father Zahm and came up with an award that would go to a lay Catholic in the United States. They wanted to emphasize that Catholics were Americans and good American citizens who had contributed to the United States in all sorts of ways. It's a singular honor. There is nothing comparable like it in the United States today. And what is so interesting about it is that Father Sorin intended it to be that way from the beginning. In that sense, it was pioneering. Long before we talked about vocation in a much broader sense, the Latari Medal was recognizing that Catholics could live an authentic vocation in a diverse array of professions. The Latari Medal was traditionally awarded, like the Papal Rose, on Latari Sunday, and Notre Dame traveled to the medalist to give the award. It was only in 1933, the 50th anniversary of the Latari Medal, that all living Latari medalists were invited back to Notre Dame for a big celebration. And even after that, it wasn't until the 1970s that Latari was traditionally awarded at commencement as part of the commencement exercises. In 1983, the 100th anniversary of the Latari Medal, Father Ted Hesburgh wondered whether there was still a need to still have a Latari Medal. After all, its original purpose, to demonstrate that Catholics could be good Americans, that was already proven true in other ways by 1983. But Father Ted believed that as long as there was going to be Notre Dame, there was going to be a Latari Medal, because there would always be ways to honor U.S. Catholics. Who we honor tells us a lot about what we value, what we think is important. So in any given year, you look at the Latari medalist, and it gives you a great idea of what not only Notre Dame, but also what the American Church sees as the greatest needs, the greatest things to celebrate, the greatest things to lift up. So it's a really excellent way to understand the history of the Church in America.
Welcome to this virtual ceremony for the conferral of the University of Notre Dame's 2020 Latari Medal on Dr. Kathleen McChesney. When we announced Dr. McChesney as a Latari medalist in March of 2020, we had hoped to welcome her to the Notre Dame campus just a few months later and to celebrate her great contributions to the Church at commencement, along with the many accomplishments of the class of 2020. While the pandemic has prevented us from gathering as planned, it does not at all diminish our joy in being able to extol Kathleen's witness to our Catholic faith, her tenacious pursuit of accountability for perpetrators of clerical sexual abuse, her unrelenting quest for justice for victim survivors, and her steadfast commitment to making the Church a safe place for all. On a personal note, as a Catholic priest, I feel in a particular way the burden of shame for those who use the cover of their priesthood to abuse, and for the failure of those who oversaw them to protect the vulnerable. I want to express my personal gratitude and deep admiration for Kathleen's work to combat the scourge of clerical abuse in the Church and care for its victims. You have done much good and given us hope. It is now my pleasure to introduce our board chair, Jack Brennan, to read the Latari Medal citation.
Madam, in the 15th verse of the 21st chapter of the book of Proverbs, King Solomon writes, "When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers." Those wise words encapsulate your remarkable career in service to all that is just and right. First, as a steadfast enforcer of the laws of our land, and then as a tenacious guardian working tirelessly to prevent the abuses that have caused so much suffering within our Church. Tenacity has been a hallmark of your long and illustrious career. After trying and discarding what you say were 12 college majors, you found your life's calling in the study and practice of law enforcement. But you quickly learned that the profession was not exactly open to the idea of women in its ranks. You persevered, however, convincing through skill and uncommon determination a civil service commission to allow you to move up from clerical duties to detective. Just 6 years after the FBI began hiring women as agents, you joined this country's leading law enforcement agency and ascended rapidly to direct some of its most visible bureaus, directing investigations into organized crime, public corruption, terrorism, and more. Your consummate professionalism, dedication to the rule of law, and courage led to your appointment as Executive Assistant Director, the Bureau's third in command. As a detective, field agent, and bureau leader, you have demanded independence and transparency, while always listening to victim survivors. That fierce commitment, combined with your investigative experience and deep love for the church, made you the inspired and ideal choice of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to lead its Office of Child Protection. Your work to establish protocols for allegations and prevention of abuse made a profound difference, not only in the implementation of the Charter for Protection of Children and Young People, but far more importantly in the lives of the young and vulnerable who are safer today because of your diligence, expertise, and compassion. For your unflinching work on behalf of children in pursuit of perpetrators, for your steadfast commitment to our church and to holding it accountable, and for your exemplary commitment to the cardinal virtue of justice, the University of Notre Dame rejoices to confer its highest honor, the Laetare Medal, on Kathleen McChesney, Los Angeles, California. Dr. McChesney, congratulations, and I invite you to offer a response.
In late 2019, I was assisting a diocese prepare their list of known clergy abusers for publication when I received the surprising news that Notre Dame had selected me to receive the 2020 Laetare Medal in recognition of my service to survivors of sexual abuse. I'm extremely honored to receive this award, but I sincerely believe it is the boys and girls and the men and the women who have come forward to tell of their experiences and of their pain who deserve our gratitude and respect. The Catholic Church in the United States has taken some significant steps in the past 2 decades to acknowledge, address, and reduce the abuse of children and vulnerable adults by Catholic clergy and others who represent the Church. The Church has committed substantial resources to solving this problem and in focusing on the needs of those who have been harmed or those who might harm others. But it's been the extraordinary and diligent efforts of thousands of men and women in the diocese, eparchies, and religious communities, the members of survivor support groups, and other truly caring professionals who have provided the crucial spiritual, psychological, and temporal support needed to those who have been abused, as well as to their abusers. Through their efforts, the wounds of many are being healed, and a considerable number of perpetrators have been held accountable for their actions. However, despite the effectiveness of the Church's abuse prevention programs, updated legislation, and more diligent law enforcement responses, some incidents of abuse continue to occur. And in recent years, there has been increased reporting of past abuses, harassment, and intimidation of vulnerable adults participating in Catholic ministries or even attending Catholic educational institutions. Because of the continued possibility that sexual abuse, exploitation, and harassment will occur, it's critical for us to have diligent oversight, abuse awareness education, and enhanced screening and selection procedures for both clergy and lay people. And we must promote healthy religious lifestyles. Equally important is the need for continued research into all aspects of abuse within the Catholic Church. Research is necessary to identify and understand the myriad reasons why people, especially those who represent the Church, harm others in these terrible ways. The results of the research will also guide us in identifying additional ways to prevent future abuse. I'm especially encouraged by the University of Notre Dame and the Cushwa Center's sponsorship of the ongoing research project, Gender, Sex, and Power, toward a history of clergy sex abuse in the United States Catholic Church. This work, which is directed by a team led by Dr. Kathleen Sproul Cummings, is an example of academic collaboration with external researchers at the highest levels. The research is an unprecedented step in the history of the Church and is certain to uncover difficult truths about the consequences of power differentials and lack of accountability within the church. The inscription on the Latari medal reads, "Truth is mighty and will prevail." It is most appropriate then that Notre Dame's research is leading the way in illuminating past secrets of the church and in educating new generations of Catholics about protecting the young and the vulnerable. Father Jenkins, I want to thank you, the award committee, and university officials for this profound honor. I assure you that I will continue to build upon the work I've undertaken that prompted this recognition in hopes of sustaining safe environments for all who participate in Catholic ministries. I humbly accept the Latari Medal on behalf of those who have been harmed in the church. They are the true workers in the vineyard and have reset the moral compass of the church. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McChesney, for your inspiring words. You appropriately drew our attention to the inscription on the Latari medal, "Truth is mighty and will prevail." It will, but only through people like you who are committed to pursuing the truth and bringing it to light, no matter the consequences. We celebrate you, but we must, as you point out, continue to pray for and walk with those who have been harmed in the church. May we be inspired by your commitment to the truth and your compassion for victims, and go forward to make the world safer and the church an exemplar of protection for all, especially for children and the most vulnerable among us. As we conclude our Latari Medal conferral ceremony, please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, bless those among us who hunger and thirst for justice, especially those deprived of justice through the crime and sin of sexual abuse. Comfort the victims, Lord. Reach out with your compassion and healing. Restore that which was stolen and renew what has been violated. Give us the grace to hunger for justice, to comfort the suffering. Our church, Lord, has too often failed in our responsibility to protect and to care. Remove the sin of sexual abuse from the church. Guide us in the critically important work of reform and renewal, which has already begun, and help us to bring it to completion in you. And Lord, we ask that you raise up more courageous and tireless advocates for justice and accountability like Dr. Kathleen McChesney. Bless her, her family, and her ministry on behalf of your people. Grant also that we may continue to live that new life which the risen Christ has won for us and graciously bestowed on us. For he lives and reigns with you forever and ever. Amen.